Good morning and welcome back to KTN Sunrise Live. It is about 5 minutes after 7 o'clock this 15th day of April, and this morning we're joined by Gor Semelango, who is the chair of the Youth Fund, not the CEO, and he's very keen that we get that right, so we definitely want to do that. He's the chair of the Youth Fund. Today we're talking about it, we're taking stock of it. I think one of the legacies of the former President Mwai Kibaki, that some of these things were begun under his administration and carrying on even with the new administration. How much money has been released? Who has benefited from this? How can you benefit from it going forward? Of course, some good news about part of that 6 billion shillings that was meant for a runoff being channeled to the Youth Fund. And we will be talking about this in youth and entrepreneurship, youth and running businesses. All of this we're discussing today. You can start tweeting us your questions. Remember, we have our question today and we're asking you if you feel that the Youth Fund has been beneficial to youthful entrepreneurship in this country. What are your thoughts on that? Tweet us your thoughts on KTN Kenya. You can tweet me at Yvonne Okwara as well. Remember, that SMS number is 8040. Leave us your name and your location. Are you satisfied with the work of the Youth Fund? Has it been beneficial to you or anybody else that you know of, any young person, your relative, your friend, your brother, your sister? Let us know. And any questions that you have on the Youth Fund, they will be answered this morning with the chair who's with us. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and it's good to see actually we have a youthful person who's heading the Youth Fund.
Sure.
So no contradictions there.
There's no contradiction.
Okay. Karibu sana to Sunrise Live. Let's talk about the achievements and the challenges of the Youth Fund to date.
Okay. I think first of all, let's get it clear. You know, when you get a bank from the when you get a loan from the bank, it's more likely go around shouting that I got a loan.
True.
So even if you buy friends drinks, you don't tell them you took a loan. So far, I think the fund has done a good job, but there are several challenges because the fund has not been very accessible to many young people, and there are complaints that they are recorded, and plenty of young people who have complained about it. But that's why I just got the job about a month ago. So we are doing something about it, which means the fund has several mandates. One of the mandates is direct lending to young people. The second mandate is to give money to financial intermediaries for onward lending, which basically is what we are saying as a fund now, to take a new direction and look at a new framework, is to stop giving money to financial intermediaries to lend to young people. So that's why recently, about a week ago, we launched the VUCA loan product to be able to allow young people to borrow directly from us. So the fund has done a lot. The records show that it has funded 160,000 youth groups across the country. But a lot needs to be done. There is also the other mandate of the fund, which is commercial infrastructure, to put up infrastructure for young people to be able to do business. So part of that is picking up on that mandate is that we are going to build virtual offices for young people. Some of the challenges that young people face is the fact that they are looking for opportunity to invest or to do business, but having the money to pay for the office, the deposit 3 months and 3 months rent is a big challenge. So we are going to set up virtual offices in 47 counties. And be able to allow young people to walk in and do business. So part of the mandate also is, with his youth employment scheme abroad, because there are challenges, in getting employment for young people in our country. So if you look at other countries, Philippines export structured labor export about 9.1 million, and Kenya can do it. So we are exploring those opportunities for our young people. Already we are in partnership with the IOM to be able to train young people on pre-departure before they leave the country, and then we give them loans to buy air tickets and process their passports and leave the country. For structured labor export, it means that we will no longer have cases of young people being molested when they leave this country to seek opportunities abroad.
And that's interesting, and we'll get into that. That the Youth Fund is also seeking to assist those who want to get employment outside. Cases of exploitation. So we're taking a look at some of the the challenges that you said that you're seeking to address. One of them being that the funds were disbursed through financial intermediaries,
yes.
and now it will be direct?
Directly.
Okay.
In fact, some of the governors I've been talking to and senators, I'm telling them, for governors, just give me a space, because we are looking, part of the framework that probably, if I could read it rightly, what the president said, that the new framework, I'm reading into it, that the challenges are that the money needs to get to young people as soon as possible. How do we address the issue of the new framework to address that challenge? It's basically, maybe we'll be looking for a license from central bank to give us a license to take deposit, to encourage and inculcate a culture of saving among young people, so that we'll have a front office banking. If a young person would be able to walk in and within 5 days he has his money, and also do LPO financing. And any young person who has an LPO and would like financing, we should be able to do it as fast as possible. In 5 days, we should be able to sort out that. So my request to governors out there is give us a ground floor office and give us another floor where we'll set up a virtual office to be able to address youth unemployment. Then the rest we will do. We'll get the money, we'll be able to finance those young people, they'll have offices.
So that is the whole idea of taking a look at devolution and how to take the funds from that right down to the grassroots. Let's also talk about the fact that the eligibility for a young person to access the funds. The biggest thing, of course, has been the business plan, and young people saying, okay, we don't know how to write a business plan. But even before we get to that challenge of the business plan itself, let's just talk about the general requirements for a young person. What is it that the Youth Fund looks for and expects from me when I come and say, this is my idea and this I want this amount of money?
It should be simple and straight. It should be between 18 years to 35 years, in between. Then that makes you a youth. You should be able to access this. And it is enterprises. By the way, part of the mandate is actually youth entrepreneurship training. Because you need to train young people to be able to absorb these funds. Sometimes it's not just about giving the money, but we also want to make it as simple as possible, so that we do not have complications about give us your business plan, blah blah blah. We want to help you even develop that business plan once you have the idea, and we are able to make it easier for you to access this money to be able to do business. Because you remember in 2007, 2008, young people destroyed our economy to the tune of 100 billion. What if we put this energy into positive action, and these young people can be able to put in more than $1 trillion into our economy? Because young people know what they want, they are capable of doing it, they have very good initiative. So it's just channeling this into the right direction, and making it easier for them to be able to access these funds and do business.
But before that, Gore, it was you're between 18 and 35, and you have a business plan. And then you would come, sit down, and have that discussion. What was the minimum amount of money?
There are several products the fund had, and we've introduced many other since I joined as chair now. Because there is the CES. CES is Constituency Youth CES, which is for the constituency. It's for a group of 12 and more who can borrow minimum of 50,000. And when you repay, then there is what we call ECS. ECS is for another loan product, which is for individual members of the youth group. That after repaying this 50,000 or more, then you can borrow individually up to 200,000 from 100,000 and above. It means the group is cohesive and can be able to do something, and so you are able to renew. Then there are others. We have Rausha, Rauka, we have several loan products.
So there's several loan products that are taking place there. A lot of people saying that the whole idea of a youth having to do a business plan should be done away with. However, I do think it would be important for you to be able to see some sort of idea on paper to see if the plan is feasible or not.
But it's good also to train them. Not every young person knows how to write a business proposal. So it's good to take them through business training and also mapping out of business opportunity. There could be a business opportunity in this studio, by a young person just looking at what is happening in the studio. He will be able to come up with an idea on what he needs to do. Where is the gap? How can we make money out of it? So it is important to also help these young people to put some clarity in their business idea. So it is important for them to come up with something but we do not want to chase you away because your business plan is bad.
Right.
Probably the idea is clear, but you don't know how to put it on paper.
Okay.
So we will be able to help them.
Okay, so this is something now going forward. Now with you at the helm, you'll be able to assist them if they have an idea. You know, they have something rudimentary on paper, but you can sort of streamline it and make it look good.
Yes, and I want to give you an example because part of the program now we want to do to run away with is the idea of setting up a movie village.
Okay.
A huge investment where we want, like Nollywood and Bollywood, we want our movie industry also to get to those levels because there are so many young, talented young people in this country who can do a lot, but we've not been able to give them an opportunity to do that and create a commercial infrastructure or an enabling environment for them to be able to exploit their talent. So we are going to put up a huge, movie village where if you want a studio like this, you will get. If you want a village house, you'll get. You want a restaurant, you'll get a one-stop shop.
So it's sort of like a set where people would come in and shoot their films.
Shoot their films, and we have the equipment, everything. And we do mass movie production. So that the people who are pirating movies will not be able to do business. They would have to work with us, and so that means we'll be able to have also script writers there, all manner of people there to be able to have to create a good, an enabling environment for young people.
Okay, let's talk about whether they're paying back this money and the funds that are disbursed, and we talk about this, giving a loan is high risk, which is probably why the commercial banks attach a very high interest rate, so that in the event that you default, after a couple of months they've probably made their money back and then some. Is that the same with the youth fund? Are you experiencing
I think young people are repaying back. The only problem we had was, I think, when the fund was first established in 2007, I think politicians went around telling young people that, when we take off government, this money is free. So that is the only batch that we are having a problem. The rest of the money young people are repaying.
So it is not free?
It's not free.
It comes with an interest rate?
It comes with an interest, 8% only. The cheapest credit. And so it's only 8%. And it's on a flat rate, so you are able to repay back. It's very cheap credit. If you borrowed $1 million, you will only have to repay with 80,000.
Okay.
It's very cheap.
As opposed to the banks, which is somewhere close to 21, 22%, depending on where you are doing that from. And we are inviting, as you know, a lot of feedback from our viewers. And just talking about the interest rates now, Agriman Kenya tweets and says, is the Jubilee's interest-free indeed a workable idea? How will the youth fund grow with no interest? There was that, perhaps that can be clarified going forward, that there are some grants and then there's loans, and everybody wondering how sustainable a grant idea would be.
A grant idea would be okay, because I mean, if you start up, there are startups, there is those young people who have very great ideas. Personally, as a chairman, I've decided I'm not gonna take any money from government that is due to me every month. So I'm going to give it out to those deserving young people who want to start up business, and I give every month. So we'll be able to identify those young people and give them that grant as an initiative to show that it is important to have a grant, because there are those young people who can do much, but they don't need the loan first time. They may need a grant. After that, maybe a year or 6 months, they graduate now to take a loan. But interest-free, we are waiting for the legal framework, which the president talked about, and see how can it be able to fit in. Then we see how we can be able to address those challenges.
Okay. You just said that the salary that you would be getting as chair, you are now channeling that?
Yes, as a grant. I'm giving back, to young people. Those deserving young people who will be able to apply, and they get that. And it could be as little as 10,000 each or 5,000 each, just looking for those young people who are deserving, and you can be able to help also. If you find one or two who
there you go. Indeed. On national television, thank you for that. Gorse Melango, of course, saying that his salary as chair of the Youth Fund will go towards giving grants to young people. Do we know of any young people? You do know the storm that you began. We're just about to get like hundreds of tweets of people saying, I'm eligible, and yes.
But they must have very good ideas, and they must be, on the face of it, if you look at it, it's something that is genuine, and they will be able, 6 months down the line or 1 year, will be able to see that this person has done well with the money, and we are going to graduate them into now taking the loans.
Okay, so it's not just everybody getting a grant. You get a grant for a short period of time, and then you graduate into getting a loan. Let's talk about you know, accountability of the fund, and, you know, checks and measures and balances in terms of that, and people saying, okay, you're handling quite a bit of money, you're just about to come into some new money now, but who manages the fund and makes sure that you know, it is used as it should?
Of course, there are management, senior management team led by the CEO who does the day-to-day running of the fund, and we have a very strong team and very dedicated staff. We are doing recruitment, and we've been able to detect where there is any attempt to defraud the fund, and we've been able to deal with those officers. So we put in a very strong system in place. We have two in a constituency youth enterprise officer. We call them Youth Enterprise Development Officers. In every 210 constituency, we have 2 of them, and they have a motorbike each. So we expect that they will be able to go down in the villages and be able to identify the groups and individual youths who want to do business, and we'll be able to finance those business. So the turnaround time is what now we are addressing, that this money should be able to reach young people as soon as possible. That they shouldn't be delayed, that young people apply and it takes like 2 months or a month or 3 before a young person gets the money or a reply that you are not able to access the money.
Okay. Is there some sort of tracking we do for the young people who have access to the fund to see how their businesses are going? You know, business is very tricky. They say you have to, you know, if you make it past your 3rd year, you know, the first 3 years are very critical in running that business. Is there a way of tracking them to see their success?
There are challenges. Personally, I'm in business. I've done several businesses, and I know the challenges that young people go through. But what we're using as a fund is there is a monitoring and evaluation committee which works on checking on how and tracking how young people are doing business, whether they are successful and whether they are failing. So the success rate is high. What I've realized is that young people are very committed. Once they get it right, they move on. So we are trying to track and we'll be telling the public more of the success stories that have come out of the youth fund. I was being informed, by the way, the other day that the youngest MP who comes from, I think, Meru region, was actually his first loan to do business came from the youth fund, which so you can imagine that there has been success there, but the problem is that not many people know about it. And when you borrow money, most of the young people who do business, they are not very the loud type, you know. There are people who sit down.
But then again, I think anybody who borrows a loan doesn't necessarily say, you know, got a loan from this bank or did this. Do you think there's a need to market this a little bit more? Because there's still not a very high level of awareness in terms of the availability of the fund, how much has been used, accountability of it, and indeed that this is the office that you can go to in case you want to access the funds.
I think there is a lack of that information, which is very critical, that young people need to know that the only way we can build our economy is through hard work and become the engine of growth. You see, last election, everybody wanted to become something. But they do not understand that there is the taxpayers' money that has to pay the members of parliament, the Senate, governors, and all that. So we need to encourage as many young people as possible to be able to start doing business, because then KRA will be able to tax them, and when they are taxed is when we can be able to have some public coffers, there will be some money, and so they become the engine of growth. And that is the most important. If we can be able to allow young people to access this money as much as possible and allow to create for them an enabling environment to do business, then we'll grow our economy and the country will be able to pay. Part of the thing we are doing, because part of our mandate is market linkages, so we've introduced another product called Agrivijana Loan, where we're doing the greenhouses. You know, we are facilitating young people to get greenhouses, and now we are planning to link with the other government agencies like the EPC, you know, Export Promotion Council, to be able to export their products. Once they do the workout, their farming, I mean, with the greenhouses, then we are able to find market for it. For instance, Congo here imports oranges and tomato from Belgium. We can easily satisfy that market by allowing our young people to grow these tomatoes and onions in greenhouses, and then we export, and the country will earn foreign exchange.
And like you talked about, just awareness of all of that out there,
Yes.
and, you know, of the process.
Yes.
Before this system of government of devolution, and now that, you know, we have the counties and the governors in place, somebody who's in Meru or in Kakamega, how would they be able to access the fund? Which offices do they go to?
We have 10 regional offices, and we are going to now create the other 47 credit officers who will be in charge of every county. But as we talk now, we have, like I told you, enterprise development officers, 2 of them in every of the 210 constituencies that were existing. We are going to recruit more as part of the new framework.
So persons would go to the constituency
office? We'll go to the
office?
constituency office.
Okay.
You get the youth office or the DO's office,
right,
and ask that you want to see the youth officer who is in charge of the funding or the youth fund.
I see.
You'll be able to meet them.
Okay.
So it is your challenge for those young people out there to go to the nearest DO's office and ask for the youth officer.
Okay.
And be able to.
All right, because I think for a lot of people, they have no idea where to start going. And you know how before, with the centralized system of government, everybody thought that you have to come to Nairobi and, you know, go to Times Tower or wherever. You know, that's where everything sort of seems to happen in Nairobi.
Those ones who are in Nairobi can come to National Bank House on 8th floor, on 8th floor and 12th floor. We have 2 floors, so on 8th floor and 12th floor, National Bank House, especially for those young people who want direct funding.
Okay.
Yeah, they can come directly, because we are trying to move away from giving money to the banks for onward lending.
Okay.
So we are trying to do, and very soon, once we get the necessary papers from the central bank, we'll be able to open banking halls to be able to give this direct money directly to young people.
Direct financial services.
Yes.
How about online? Are they able to access this
they will
online?
have,
You know, everybody's
you
on
can go to
Twitter.
www.youthfund.go.ke. You'll be able to see what the products we have and what we are offering.
And you can actually, you know, fill a form online, submit it, and get a response?
Yes, you should be able to fill in a form, and because it's a youth organization.
Okay.
So we are trying to make it better. I think we are on Twitter, also on Facebook.
Oh, you're
so
on Twitter, are you?
Search for us.
Okay.
I'm also on Twitter.
Okay.
If you can tweet the chairman.
So that is, I'm sure, something that they will definitely want to do. When we talk about youth doing business, and I know youth are talented and they want to be in the arts industry, but let's be fair, not everybody can be in the youth industry. And I like what the president said. One of the things he mentioned in his speech, just to paraphrase, was to make sure that those who are in sports and entertainment providers, you know, will be able to earn a profitable livelihood from this. So that is a step in the right direction. Yes. Do you think, though, a lot of youth are focused on the arts and not necessarily other things? I like the fact that you mentioned
the movie village.
The movie village, and also, you know, agriculture, getting them into, you know, other things. But do you think we are maybe a little bit too arts oriented? I want to be a rapper, a singer, a movie star, a film director, and, you know, perhaps ignoring other avenues? What are some of the businesses that you see coming for funding?
The beauty of this is actually when we had the 2 gentlemen elected, president and deputy, like they are young in nature, and if anything, they have shown the young people that you can do it. Despite all the obstacles that you face, you'll be able to, you can make it in life. So that is an encouragement to young people. This country will be, you can be what you want to be. I mean, that is the message. If you want to be good in arts, I mean, we'll give you an opportunity to do it. If you are good in music, you'll be able to do what you are good at, and that is the opportunity. Another thing which I didn't mention, and which is very important, you know, we used to say that agriculture is the backbone of the economy.
Yes.
Of course, we have the Agri-Vijana business loan, and now we're also going to set up BPOs. You know, when you go to India, now most of the BPOs are in India and probably China. They've set up, you know, BPOs is where you go and if you call AT&T and the call is rerouted to India.
It's routed to India, and now
like,
to Kenya as well. Yes.
Kenya, we can do it.
Right.
We can get those contracts from US and UK, from those big companies, and set up a BPO centers. And as you are aware, many young people here can speak very good English.
Right.
So we'll be able to handle that, and they will be able to make money. Just having and set up a whole floor and put young people on phones and frequently ask questions. So we'll be able to have created job opportunities for many young people. So ours is to go out there and get the contracts for young people and come back here and set up BPO centers. So they will be able to walk into those centers, get jobs, and we'll be able to create more jobs, even 1 million jobs, because there is the most of the companies out there are outsourcing those jobs.
BPO, yes,
and we
yes.
can speak better English than India.
For sure. That's definitely for sure.
Yes.
But you know, is it your suggestion that perhaps youth need to open up their minds
They need to open
doing
up
a lot of things? We can't be doctors, lawyers, artists,
Yes,
for
yes.
example.
Young people need to open up their minds. It's just that we'll try and create opportunities, but part of ideas are normally coming from young people. I've had opportunities to interact with young people, and they have very brilliant ideas. It's just to help them to facilitate those ideas into reality.
Okay.
But they need to open up their minds. They don't need to just straight jacket, you know,
Yes.
they must do this, it's white collar.
Right.
And I'm also encouraging, you know, those young people who are employed, because they are the best when in terms of repayment.
Indeed.
You know, they need to create
have a pay slip,
yeah,
yes.
they have a
And we
pay
were
slip.
talking about that, yes, just
they
before we
need to-
started.
They
yeah.
need everybody, including you. You need to, because you can be able to create employment elsewhere. So, because we are looking at the numbers, we need to create employment for these young people. There are many. Unemployment is becoming a serious issue. Every year, about 800,000 young people are entering job market. The formal sector is only able to accommodate about 80,000. What
Wow.
about the rest of those young Kenyans?
Right.
So we need to create an opportunity for them. Some, and including the camera guys, who borrows, if he borrows money to go and start up a studio,
Yes.
he would be able to employ some 2 other young people, and we would
Even
be able
whilst
to give him
his-
the loan, because
yes.
he would be able to repay. And if he doesn't pay, we know we can get him on his salary.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed, giving ideas to a lot of people who are members of the team here as well. And we're talking with Gaur just before the show about the possibility of me doing that as well. Is there any business that you do not fund? There's a question here from Audrey Murithi who's watching. She asks, is it possible to get a loan to start a retail shop with the youth fund?
Oh yes, any business except criminal activities.
Of course. So yes, anything. So Audrey, there you have your answer to that.
As long as the idea is good and the
Right.
business is viable.
Okay.
And we are trying to set up, you know, enterprise development officers to take you through, to be able to share with you your idea and see how practical it is. So any idea we fund, except criminal activity.
Except criminal activity that, of course, you would not be party to. Gitonga George from Meru talks about who will pay for the incentives and the logistics, who is the one that checks misappropriations. You know, we know with everything else we can go
Yes,
to
yes.
Parliament. If, for example, God forbid,
Yes.
we hear of some misappropriation of funds within the youth fund, who would we go to? Would we be able to go to our members of parliament and say something is wrong within the youth fund?
You
I
know,
guess?
you can talk to me directly. I chair the board of directors, so it means we have mechanism. We
Okay.
have, even the board itself has audit committee, which vets, you know, which looks at any misappropriation. So there are mechanism. Even the senior management itself has an internal audit manager, a senior audit, you know, so that there is internal audit.
Okay.
Apart from that, of course, these are public funds, which are, of course, audited by the Auditor General.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Which every year, and they, of course, in Parliament, there is Public Accounts Committee.
Indeed.
Which holds the public officers accountable
Okay.
for any public funds.
And the youth fund is a
trusted.
public enterprise.
Of course it
yes.
is, yes.
So important at least for people to understand that
Yes,
there's
yes.
those checks and
There is no
balances in the
room.
systems. Wayaki Wangugi has a question this morning. He says on Twitter, he says, can one get an initial loan individually? You talked about getting it as a group first and then you graduate to getting one initially.
We've created many products, including now the VUCA. VUCA, you can get up to 2 million individually.
Okay.
Yes, so you can walk into our offices and request to be, you know, I mean, briefed what is the requirement for you to be able to access that loan. So
Okay.
you can,
All
up
right.
to 2 million.
Up to 2 million.
Yes.
That fund sounds, that amount of money sounds like quite a bit. You know, giving that to an individual or even a group of individuals. What are some of the
We need training.
fail-safe measures to make sure that, you know, you get the money back? Because we know, yes, there's an interest rate, but it is considerably lower than
Very
getting
low,
it from a
8%,
commercial enterprise.
yes,
But
yes.
you see, there's that risk. I
There
mean,
is
giving money anyway is a risk. The business
We
may
have-
or may not make it. What happens then?
We have a safety mechanism, and we have loan officers who will be able to evaluate your capacity to be able to repay the loan.
And the
So
capacity would
it's
be
not
based on the
based-
business viability, because for
Yes,
most of us it would be a
yes,
pay
it's-
slip
yeah.
or, you know,
It's business
land
viability.
or something.
It's business
Okay.
viability. They look at your proposal. They sit you down and then discuss with you, why do you need the money?
That's a lot of faith, Gaur,
Yes, it
in
is.
the business idea that it will work. Because with everyone else, you know,
But
you have
mostly-
a title deed, you
Yes.
have well, I don't think they do logbooks because, you know, a car depreciates in value.
Sometimes the loan officers would ask you for a logbook or title.
Okay.
If they think that, you know, your idea doesn't look like you'll repay back.
Okay. It looks a little risky, that it may or may not take off.
Or may not take off. So they may ask for some security, including your household, you know, chatters. You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So depending on how they evaluate your proposal.
So up to 2 million shillings for an individual.
2 million for an individual.
All right.
So, yes.
Okay. Yeah. And also as a group, because I think there's a lot of questions with a lot of young people, and perhaps this is something, and I like that you're addressing, not every young person is involved in a group, because we're getting many questions. Can one access this fund as an individual? Yes, they can. They can.
And of course, we had a problem initially when I think the fund started. Many young people went into groups. I think they were for purposes of political mobilization. They were told, you know, get into a group and access the fund. So some young people just got into a group and they were not a cohesive group.
Okay, yes.
As soon as they got the money, they
went separate ways.
They went separate ways. So you need like-minded young people who are very focused. They know what they want to do, how they want to do it, and what direction they want to take. And it's easy to, you know, to work with such young people.
Right.
And there are many of them. There are many. There are many young people who are doing great things, including that young man who was doing shirts for the former president.
Yes, indeed.
And he's operating from Umoja.
Indeed.
So there are very many young focused, very many young and focused
individuals.
People,
all right.
Individuals who can.
When you take a look at you know, business, it's running an enterprise is challenging enough for anybody at whatever age. But what are some challenges that you think are unique to young persons in entrepreneurship?
Basically, it's because a young person is still going through processes. You want to get married, you know, you want to settle, you want to buy a car, you want so many things, you know. So those are the challenges. And because when you're starting up business, there are many challenges which we are trying to address. Trying to set up a business is a challenge because first you must look for an office, because you don't want to go somewhere and they're saying briefcase.
Yes.
You know, and so we are trying to address that. So those are the challenges. Also trying, you know, you want to open a bank account, you must operate that bank account, trying to get the right contacts to get business. So there are several challenges. But the good thing is the Jubilee government has already promised about 25% of government total procurement to go to young people. So once we set up the virtual offices, then it will be able to put a legal officer there on retainer. We have an accountant, an auditor, to be able to help young people do all these other things. And also it will be like a business incubation center to help young people understand how to do business. Then we have those basic training on basic bookkeeping training, bookkeeping.
Right.
Basic training, so that you are able to handle money, you are able to apply for a tender, you know, those things. To help young people understand.
Right. Do you think that's something that needs to be addressed in the education curriculum? You know, at the basic level, because yes, you are helping them, but you know, they should honestly come up with, you know, some of these things.
I think so. In fact, the biggest challenge we have is the serious disconnect with our education system and addressing the youth unemployment. Because a young person is taught, even when you used to go to school, you hear so many kwa bidii, baada ya kusoma utapata kazi nzuri sana.
Exactly.
So the young man's mind is tuned to going to school. After school you get a good job, and then you realize, oh, all of a sudden you've done with school, you have your degree, and then there is no job. So it's really frustrating. So we need to re-engineer our training in school so that we can have a component of entrepreneurship. You train young people that you can be job creators. I think that is very critical, because majority of young people just want to get jobs. And that is why we have the other one called YESA, to try and look for employment opportunities abroad, because now we don't have enough jobs here.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, and let's talk about that for a moment. And I think you'd mentioned a bit about that. Helping those who cannot find work here to do so outside the country. That versus brain drain, and how, you know, we can manage that process.
No, we can. If you know, when we call it structured labor export, it means that we can be able to look at the skills gap. We go to Qatar and we know they require the number of people and what skills do they require. Structured means that we know we're taking them for a 6 month contract, and they are able to come back with the money and repatriate the money and come back. You see, because we need to look for opportunities for them. We can keep them here. What would be the drain brain is when we have all the doctors, all the lawyers leaving the country. But in structured labor export, it means that we look at the skills gap. Like the other day, Rwanda wanted teachers and accountants.
Right.
So we are able to enter. You know, it will be G to G, government to government, and it is structured. We'll have a look at the contract, how much are they going to be paid, and then we process for them passports. We give them money for air tickets at a very cheap rate, maybe 1% interest, loan. Then we train them on pre-departure in collaboration with ILO and IOM, so that they don't go there and get culture shock. And also ensure that the contract that they sign is protecting them from exploitation when they go for this employment.
All right, great stuff. We are speaking with the chair of the Youth Fund, Gor Semelango, who's telling us about how to access the funds. And remember, we will also be talking about that 6 billion shillings, a part of which is set to go the way of the Youth Fund. Keep your questions coming in. I can see so many on Twitter that are coming in right now. The chair of the Youth Fund will be addressing more of your questions, but we take a short break first. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us on Sunrise Live this morning. We are speaking with the chair of the Youth Fund, Gor Semelango, who's telling us about accessing the Youth Fund, how it has been able to help, and of course, moving forward. Now, before I get into your questions, which are quite a number on Twitter and on our SMS line, just very quickly I want to talk about the 6 billion shillings that was meant for the rerun.
Yes.
And they said it'll be between the Youth Fund and the Women's Fund. So plans that you have for this money, and this is a good thing, obviously. You must be
very
pleased.
Good thing. I mean, it's also good that they are keeping their word, you know, that they promise the youth and women that they give this money, and they are true to their word. And for Youth Fund, we would like to get 4.5 billion out of the 6 billion.
The women will have something to say about that.
Reason, because we are dealing with women between 18 and 35. So which means a big chunk of women are also in our docket. So it leaves them with women of 35 and above. So which means if you give us 4.5 billion, it will be good for us, because we will be able to address youth and those women who are between 18 and 35. Yeah, there are plans, of course. The new framework which they talked about is to enable young people access this money as fast as possible. So it means those things we are talking about, the front office, banking, hall, and a license for deposit taking. So those are basically some of the new thinking of a new legal framework to allow us to be able to churn out this money as possible. Secondly, it could also be in terms of toolbox voucher. You know, when you go to a village and your car breaks down, you're most likely to call someone in Nairobi, a mechanic in Nairobi, to come down, mostly because the toolbox that the fellow at the village has doesn't have all the tools. So basically, you could also, in terms of toolbox voucher, that you have those mechanics in the village, because now we have village polytechnics, and the training has been remodeled, you know, through the Ministry of Youth. So there is a lot of changes in those village polytechnics. So the graduates they are churning out should be able to get toolboxes. So if anybody's car or motorbike or anything breaks in the village, you should be able to have a mechanic who has complete toolbox. Yes, to be able to... And
the know-how as well.
And the know-how, yes, because the training is there at the village polytechnic.
Because I know in Kakamega you'd have to go to Kisumu.
Yeah, so that's what we want to avoid.
We
want to avoid. If this money this money and the support needs to go down to the villages, so that we also avoid, you know, the rural-urban migration. Yes, to check the growth of cities.
Right. Everyone's giving a timeline. President Uhuru Kenyatta has given a timeline of 100 days in which he hopes to be able to achieve some of these. And I think for a lot of us, you're saying a lot of nice things, Gor, and a lot of youth are so buoyed by this, by our discussion this morning. When do we hope to see the whole idea of front office services? I know with the direct lending and not through intermediaries, that is already possible.
That's already possible. We've started. We are churning out about 12 million every week. The uptake has gone
directly.
And I think that is good.
All right. For the front office services and some of the improvements that you're talking about, can we get some sort of timeline to keep you accountable?
You know, when the president and the deputy, when the president said 100 days, in government there is something called RRI, Rapid Response Initiative. It means that when the president says, I want this thing done in 100 days, it means the implementer goes into that mode of RRI, rapid response initiative, which means you need to set up structures very fast to ensure that this is done. So it means these things will be done very quickly, because now there will be cross-cutting issues with needs other government agencies. So we have our planning, and when we are told, go, on your marks, go, and we are ready to roll out.
And on your marks, go, from that to the finish line will be how long?
100. If 100 it's 100, you have to go with the rate of the leader determines the rate of the pack.
I know there's a lot of agencies that would be involved in some of the stuff that you're talking about, but particularly front office services.
They would just need a license from Central Bank.
Okay.
I mean, it will take, if
and
the
that is something that you're working
the
on? The
president picks a call and call the central bank government and says, I want this money disbursed through this way, and we'll be able to get we have the money. It just needs about 60 million to put into central bank, and then get a license to do deposit taking. And so we'll be able to encourage young people and inculcate that culture of saving. And then we'll be able to set up the front office. Already we are looking for offices. As we speak now, we are looking for offices to set up front office.
Would we get this done in a year, Gore?
Not a year. In 100 days, it will be done.
Be careful what you say.
No, I'm serious. I'm serious about this. Yeah, of course, there are a few bottlenecks in government procurement procedures, but we are also trying to do government to government. We get government buildings, so we are able to set up and get this thing running. As you know, this is a digital government, you know.
Yes, so we're hoping this will happen very fast. Let's get into the questions now that we are talking about here. Makobonyo, you say, would Mr. Chairman kindly pass me his personal email? We won't pass you his personal email. We'll give you the official email, because
hopefully youthfund.go.ke.
That's right. Yes. And we'll be responding to that on Twitter as well. In fact, I think I can just do that right away. We'll give you his official email, tafadhali. Anything personal, hopefully you would know him on a personal level, right? To be able to get in touch with him. It's chair@youthfund.go.ke. Gitonga also says, from the discussions we're having, there is a need for you to sensitize the youth more. Go to the churches and the mosques and the social halls, and, you know, have ads on radio and on television. Do you agree that a lot of work needs to be done?
A lot of work needs to be done. But also the young people, those who have watched, need to tell others. And you need to go to like now we have the county commissioner's office, the provincial, you need to go and ask there, or the youth offices, ask, where can I get to meet the youth officer in charge of this money? Because we have officers out there.
So that's another one, because
but we'll be trying to do more.
Yes. At the DO's office, you ask for the youth officer?
Yes, or
at the county
any youth office, even at the village polytechnic, just go and ask, because they are part of the Ministry of Youth. You should be able to ask, how can I access this money? It should be your responsibility.
Right.
This is your money.
All right. So that's happening there. But definitely we are hoping to see some more of this, some more of those ads. I mean, you know how IBC was, I think, in our faces prior to the election.
Budget, you know? Maybe
our president should be able to give us that, and perhaps that's something that you might be working on. Suleiman, thank you for your tweet this morning. You say, can youths who are employed by the government, like police, military, qualify for the fund individually? Any civil servant who's a young man?
They should. I think that is the best way to create employment, because many young people, not many young people want to do business, and some of them just want jobs. But you know, as the normal Kenyan guy, a normal Kenyan who is working somewhere has some side business they're doing. And it is, a research has shown that.
Usually with governments, they always talk about the conflict of interest.
No, so long as it's not something you're doing.
Okay.
So long as you're not opening a studio and you're working at KTN. And I think many of you who are working out there, whether you're in military or police, and you're between 18 and 35, you should be able to look for this money and invest. And be able to allow other Kenyans earn a living out of that. That would be creation of jobs.
Indeed.
Which we are looking for.
Indeed. So anyone, whether you're privately employed or employed by the government, as long as you're between the ages of 18 to 35.
And show us that you are going to create employment. Because for us, that is, we're looking at the numbers. Are you able to create an extra employment? That's the most important thing for us. So at the end of the year, we can say we have been able to create 1 million jobs. Yes, or 2 million.
Right. Here's another question, and it's talking about, from Susan Kanyewi, can people over 35 with a viable business plan be eligible for a youth loan?
No, not individually. But as a group, if you have, like, there are some products we are calling youth-focused enterprises, which means if you are in a group of 12 people and 2 of you are over 35, but you are able to give leadership and guidance to these other young people, then we can be able to And sometimes we say up to 70% in a group. But as individual, no. You cannot apply for the fund if you're over 35 years old.
All right, okay. And, you know, for a lot of people, honestly, Gore, you need to do a lot about informing the youth and, you know, creating awareness. Because we have one from Rama who's saying, we want such people in our country who care about our youth. But my question is, can one access this fund as an individual? Many people seem not to know.
Yes, you can access as an individual. As long as you're between ages of 18 to 35, you can access the money as an individual.
Okay.
And that is why you see the need of setting up, you know, front offices, so that we can have a one-stop. You walk in and walk out, and after 2 days, 3 days, you are able to know whether you qualify for the loan or not, and you get the money, and also try and do LPO financing.
Right. Yes.
Given
that would be
the commitment that we'll get, young people will get government contracts. 25%.
We talked about this, but let's just reiterate this for the sake of some of our viewers who are joining us. You have several products, and you know, with those come several sort of loans that are available. Because Willis Otieno is asking, the 50,000 shilling youth fund that is given is so minimal. He's a visual artist. I believe he's in Kisumu, if I'm not wrong. Can there be consideration to offer a more favorable deal to the group?
Sure. You see, I always ask, I've been talking to groups, and sometimes you ask them, what is too small? You see, some fellow just wants 5,000 to buy a bicycle. Okay. So to tell him that 50,000 is less,
he doesn't want 50,000.
Yeah, he doesn't want 50. So, but that is why we have different products. We have ECS, we have FUCA, which you can take up to 2 million directly. So don't say 50 is small, and you know,
so it's the ability to explore all of these other products that are there,
and that it depends with your capacity to be able to absorb the money and run with it.
Okay, and of course it also depends on the viability of the plan, which is what happens with every loan process. If you go to the bank and say you want $1 million, they'll say, well, we can't give you $1 million, but we can give you 750,000.
And they'll evaluate.
Okay. Yes. All right. So that is definitely done. That website again, where you can access the funds, you can actually fill your application online and submit it.
Yes, we are working on that very well, because but you can go to our website www.youthfund.go.ke and you'll be able to get information you want. But I'm encouraging young people out there, don't just sit down and say, where is this money? Go to the nearest administrative office. You can get. Okay. Ask your teacher, ask your chief, ask whoever, ask your DO, ask your county rep, ask your MP, ask your governor, how can I access this? And there are offices for the youth fund. And we have officers with branded motorbikes. You should be able to stop them and ask them.
Okay.
Yes. So it is your duty as a citizen.
It is indeed.
And the money belongs to young people.
Okay. Yes. All right. All right, and you are giving money to individuals and those in a group, because we have an SMS here that's asking, good morning, just a clarification, can I get the fund alone, or do I need to join a group? Is there any qualification, maybe a form for certification required apart from being 18 to 35?
No, you know, mostly for individuals, you need to have registered a business. You need to be in business. You know, you have started a salon, you've started your garage. You must be in business. Okay. And what we are trying to do is to encourage as many young people as possible. When you do it in a group, it's good. Sometimes you can have a group focus. You start as a group and then you venture as individual. That's why we have those two products. We have the CES. The constituency youth enterprise scheme, which is for a group of 12 and more. The one they are saying is minimum 50. But it means that you can, once you repay that, everybody buys a bicycle, or you just want to start a barber shop. Maybe you just need 10,000. Once you repay, it doesn't mean you can't borrow more. You can go and borrow 100,000 individually as a member of the group. So then you are entitled to what is called now the co-guarantee, because now you are a member of a group. So it's easier. It's a bit flexible because there are people who know you in a group. So they will be able to say, Yvonne, we know Yvonne. Yvonne they can vouch for you.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, but if you want as an individual, and you can be able to satisfy the loan officer that I am able to use this money well and be able to create employment and empower myself. And contribute to the national economy. Why not?
Okay. So it would be important to have something running.
It's important.
As opposed to an idea. Okay, all right.
You know, ideas are what we call startups. Actually, we're working with the National Economic Social Council to be able to put up a guarantee scheme that will be able to finance startups because they are risky ventures.
Okay.
Basically, the reason why banks don't like giving money to young people is because you can take
it's
2 million
risk,
bob
yes.
and you took a plane to go to America or anywhere else.
And never come back.
And never come back.
Okay.
So we are trying to work on a structured, way of addressing the credit guarantee scheme to be able to fill in that gap or the challenge of now lack of collaterals and all that. To address the high-risk borrowers who are young people.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Mogaka is talking about the qualifications of the loan, which you've discussed, but he's also asked another important question. What is the timeline of repaying it?
The timeline depends. There are 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. In fact, the direct one, as we've really tried to make it easier for young people to access it and repay, because we are giving a little bit of grace period. From a month to 3 months, that you are able to set up, But we would like those young people who have already started doing business, because they already know the challenges.
Indeed.
Yes, they are already in that business, so they know the challenges.
Indeed.
The startups are a bit risky, but we are doing everything possible to be able to create that credit guarantee scheme where, we can be able to finance the startups. And allow young people to exploit their potential.
Okay, because I think with the youth fund, they with the women's fund, excuse me, have a grace period of 3 months, and then after that they start.
We do that also.
Okay, all right, okay. Let's get into. We've talked about the challenges that young people face. Are they committed? Do they stick to it? There's the criticisms for a lot of young people that they're very flippant and they move from this idea to the next and not committed and, ready to do the hard work. In your experience, I know you've been there a month, but you're also a young person yourself and interacted with young people over the course of time. Are young people committed to a cause? Do they see it through to the end?
They see it, but I think sometimes even talking to older people and our parents now, I think the challenge is even parents need to sit down their young people and focus them, because the challenge that we are facing as a country is a challenge of unemployment among the young people, and I think it's important for parents to sit down your young daughter or son and talk to them about their commitment to their country, about how they can be able to create employment and address that issue, especially the issue of commitment and discipline. Because financial discipline means that when you get the money, you'll be able to repay. And if you are able to repay, then other young people will be able to get the money, and it will be a revolving fund. So many people will be able to get it. So it is important for young people to know that focus is very important, and that commitment, that when you get the money, show that you are responsible. Because government has committed money to be able to get to you at a very cheap rate, and so therefore it is up to you now to look at government and say thank you so much for doing this, and in return we want to show that we are responsible people. But there are no shortage of responsible young people. There are few, of course, who are responsible, but majority of young people are very responsible. But we are calling on their parents also. Parents can also give them the guarantee which is needed, the guarantee, and also maybe collateral.
There you go.
Yeah, so that when parents do that, you don't allow your young person to stay in your house waiting for unemployment. But you tell them, if I can't be able to take my piece of title or my logbook and guarantee you this money and focus you and to ensure that you are able to contribute to the national growth.
So obviously a lot is needed, and it's an interesting perspective that you bring out about parents or those who are a little older and who have perhaps made it to step in and be guarantors for these young people.
And we are exploring also other elements of mentorship, because a lot of these young people need to be mentored. Yes, because if they get mentorship from business leaders, those who are doing business, because our parents, most of them are also doing business, so teach our young people that there is nothing for free, that you can work hard and that your hard work can be repaid, and that you are in a country that now gives you an opportunity to grow. And responsibility, that national duty, that this money has come from government, and so government has given you an opportunity to do something. Be responsible. Once they are responsible, you are going to have a great country. The majority of young people are capable of producing, the energy they have is enough for them to do enough great things to grow this economy.
It's interesting that you mentioned mentoring. There's a question here. So many tweets coming in. I can't seem to find it, but it talked about, so does it end with giving them the funds, do you go and and check out their businesses, monitoring and saying
monitoring and evaluation? Just seeing, getting a credit officer coming to where you work and just checking whether your business is doing well and the challenges you are facing.
Right.
In fact, what we have decided is we are going to have like a monthly report. So then we'll be able to highlight the success stories so other young people can see it can be done. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Here's an interesting one. Brian Bahati has gone to your website and it's not working.
Really?
And I'm checking here. It seems to be under construction.
No,
the site is down for maintenance. Please check again soon. To access webmail, kindly type this.
Maybe somebody just watched the show and hacked,
well, well, Gord, no,
it's
that
been
needs
working.
to be...
I doubt if it should be working.
Okay.
And that should be sorted as soon as I'm out of the studio.
Yes,
we'll be able to.
Absolutely, because I've tried it here on my iPad
and I know the
can't
officers who are watching, who are in IT department, should be able to sort out
Please
that
do, because the minute you do that with
yes.
young people who can access this from just about anywhere, there you go. Okay, so you talked about that a business needs to be registered.
Yes.
Here's a question. Alvin Moroga says, can an individual be financed to expand an agri-based horticulture in my own farm, but the business is not registered?
It can be done, but we are also trying to work with other government agencies to ensure that registration of business is easy. And the president said that in his inaugural speech.
Yes.
He said, go to Rwanda. I have a company in Rwanda. My company was registered in 1 day.
1 day, exactly.
So,
it's a two-step process.
Yeah, it's a two-step process.
Here it's an 8-step process.
Yes, and the president said very clearly that is going to cut it down and it's going to be very easy to register a company. So I think that we can still finance him as an individual through agribusiness and what we have talked about export, trying to work with other government agencies to ensure that they are. Yes, it needs to be. It's good. It's good for him. It's good for his business.
Okay.
Very soon he'll be able to transact outside the country and it would need registration.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but we can still, it doesn't mean we cannot fund him. We can still finance his business through him as an individual. But it will be good for him.
I see. Okay.
Yes.
So Alvin, get your business registered. It might just help, but also as an individual, he can come access the fund. But it is indeed important to understand the nature of business. And for young people to understand that you need to get your business registered and you need good bookkeeping. That's something that the youth, that's something that the youth need to understand.
Yeah, they need to understand that. I think we started, there was what we are calling business development training, so we were taking young people through those training to understand what is it you need to do to start up a business and set up business. Also in line with procurement, the 25% as directed by Jubilee government is basically we need to train these young people on those areas of basic bookkeeping, financial management, basic, bookkeeping, financial management, and also how to apply for tenders, the processes, and maybe a bit of training on basically how to manage the bigger tenders, and how to be able to comply with all other government regulations. So it is important. It is important to train them, because if you don't train them, then they will be able to get the money, but they don't have the capacity to use the money well.
Exactly.
And for the purpose for which it was intended.
All right.
So it's very important to train them.
Indeed.
Training is key.
It is.
And it's part of our mandate on entrepreneurship training.
Okay.
So what we need maybe from other partners also to come in and help us build the capacity of young people. Because sometimes you blame them, but they don't have enough training to do what you require them to do. Yes.
Okay, and we'd also talked about the curriculum, perhaps,
perhaps
addressing that
we need our education system to address that. We need to let the young people know that there are no ready jobs, so that you'll be lucky to get one when you leave school.
Indeed.
So our training curriculum, our basic education curriculum must now contain entrepreneurship training, telling them that actually we want to create more job creators than job seekers.
Okay.
Then we are headed somewhere.
I like that. Create more job creators and not job seekers. Frederick Oko asks, a product for youth with disabilities to access the fund, is that something that's there?
Yes, we do. We even have a project now. We just started just recently with the Kenya Society for the Blind, I think on the braille and all that. So we are coming with new products like the disabled youth. We are having a component to deal with them.
Okay.
I just launched the other day. I launched a report on how many young people with disability are accessing the funds. And we got the challenges, and now we are addressing them.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. We're coming to the close of our discussion now. Gore, if you can just sort of wrap it up for us, the discussion.
Yes.
And well, indeed they should. And of course, the first thing I'm hoping you'll do is go make sure your website is up and running.
Yes.
That is more important than anything else.
I can assure young people that it will be up and running.
Okay.
Somebody should be able to take responsibility for that.
Absolutely.
Because this is a youth organization.
Yeah.
Everything, our Twitter, our Facebook, our
we're digital.
Yeah, we're digital, and we are in a digital government, in a digital country now.
Yeah.
Maybe to wrap up is to tell young people out there, this fund is meant for you. The government has done their part. They are committed to give you this money in order for you to do business. It is your duty to look for this money. Seek this opportunity to make our country great. Don't sit back. And for parents out there, nurture your children to be job creators. Tell them the truth that there are no white-collar jobs remaining. There are very few. And for those few positions that are there, they are very competitive. So train them that you not only require them to work hard to contribute to the national economy, and also tell them that discipline is key. For discipline will make them go and become greater citizens and build our country. Our economy needs to be built. It will not be built by idling young people. It will be built by those young people who wake up every morning thinking, what can I do for this country? What can I do for this country, and how can I do it?
Indeed.
The Youth Enterprise Development Fund will be there to facilitate you to be able to do the business you want to do to create employment. And for parents, please help support your young people, train them to be responsible citizens. And this country will be great. Thank you.
Indeed, yes. And of course they can also be guarantors, and I liked that that aspect of it. Thank you very much, Gore, for discussing this issue with us, and we look forward to some more, and hopefully that you'll be able to push for that 4.5 billion shillings of the 6 billion that was meant for the rerun. So it is a pleasure having you with us today. Been speaking to Gore Semelango, who's the chair of the Youth Fund in the country today, talking about accessibility to the fund. Well, obviously a lot more needs to be done in terms of awareness, but that's why we have a show like this, to be able to just let you know about the availability of this particular process. The website will be up and running, he promises us, and for those of you who've asked me on Twitter, I have given you his Twitter handle as well. And just that interesting statistic, about 800,000 young people going out into the job market, and the formal white-collar sector can only take up 80,000. That's about 720,000 people every year who need to get something done.
It's a huge challenge.
Indeed. The fund is there. Anything from 5,000 to 2 million shillings that you would like, provided, of course, that your idea sounds viable and feasible. Let's get into some stories.